Given a list of integers from 0, we want to know which of these are primes and which aren't. To do this, we'll be using the algorithm, the sieve of Eratosthenes. To use this algorithm, we first assume all the numbers in the list are primes. Then we move on to the number 2, which is the first prime that we know, and we mark all its multiples as not primes. Then we move on to number 3, and we mark all its multiples as not primes. We move on until we are halfway to the list, where we know all the numbers that we have marked are not primes and all the rest are primes. To implement this in pseudocode, we first define an array of values, which is an array of booleans, using the generateSieve function. This array of values has a length of n plus 1, starting from 0 and ending at n. This array functions more like a dictionary than it does an array because we're using the index to see which integer we're talking about, and the value at the index is whether it is a prime or not. Then we loop through this array from 0 to halfway through n. If we're a number below 2, we mark it as false because we know 1 and 0 aren't primes. Then, for the rest of the numbers, we mark all its multiples as not primes if the number itself isn't already marked as not prime. The remove multiples function takes in the array values, the integer we want to remove its primes of, and the length of the array. We loop through this array while we're still in range we first set the variable j to twice of the number we want to remove its multiples of. Then we loop through j while j is less than or equals to n, and we mark the value at j as false because we know it's a multiple of I. After this loop, we print the prime numbers. This function takes in the array of values and n. We loop through the array from 0 to n, and we output the integer I if it's a prime number. This is my implementation using Python. The Eratosthenes method isn't spelled right, but it's mostly the same as it is in pseudocode, similarly with the remove multiples function. The only difference here is that I've added this function plot to plot out the graph of primes. This is done using matplotlib. This graph plots out P of n. P of n outputs the number of primes there are less than or equals to the number n. This graph graphs Pn up till 20, and this graph graphs Pn up until 50.